Welcome to episode 12 of Sports Talk with the Statsman. Hi folks, I'm Paul Bruno and I want to thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel at PB the Statsman. On today's episode, I want to tell you about my hockey podcast over at the website www.rotowire.com. That's ROTOWIRE.com. In the hockey tab on the site, you'll find the Rotowire Fantasy Hockey Podcast on the right side of the home page. Once you're there, you can listen to the first three divisional breakdowns that we've already recorded during the last couple of weeks. The fourth one, featuring the Toronto Maple Leafs and the rest of the Atlantic Division, drops there on October 10, which happens to be the first day of the NHL's regular season. Each of these four pods is designed to walk you through the rosters and preview the depth charts for each club. I conclude each episode with predictions for the final rankings of teams at the end of the regular season. This pod, now in its 9th season, will feature top storylines each week during the regular year and will include guests from time to time as well. In addition, on my YouTube channel that you're watching right now, I will cover every Leaf game with my observations following each outcome. At the very least, you're going to learn something about the games that are played and how these guys are playing them, but I hope it prompts your comments that you can put at the end of each episode. I'll provide my preview of the Leafs roster as an example of what we might expect after just passing the waiver deadline, and the club has now declared its opening day roster. Two rather surprising outcomes result and are evident within the opening day roster and depth chart as it stands right now. First, their second round draft choice, Fraser Minton, has made the club and is penciled in on the third line at center ice. Look, I watched this kid in the preseason games and can report that the 6'2", 200-pounder, though he's 19 years old, did not look out of place or overmatched at any time. I think he's going to be getting a great chance to make this club and stick with it as long as he plays at this level. The team can retain this option or return him to his junior club, the Kamloops Blazers of the Western Hockey League, before he plays 10 NHL games in order to defer the first year of his 3-year entry-level contract if they want to do so as well. Secondly, the Leafs sent 6 players through league waivers this week, including veteran goalie Martin Jones. He's a valuable player to the Toronto Maple Leafs because he's a veteran goalie they can lean on if some injury woes occur for the likes of Ilya Samsonov or Joseph Wall, who are penciled in as the starters for this club. It's a real boon for the Leafs to have a veteran of this quality. He was actually part of the tandem that helped Seattle have such a great year in their inaugural year in the NHL last season. In the meantime, he and the others who passed through waivers will now be free to move between the Leafs and the Marlies, their AHL affiliate, without fear of another team picking them up and having the Leafs lose that asset. So the Leafs opening roster will look something like this. At the moment, it looks like it lines up with Tyler Bertuzzi, an off-season free agent pickup from the Boston Bruins, lining up on the big top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who are going to both flirt with a 100-point campaign, I think. Max Domi comes over amid some fanfare after splitting the year last year between Dallas and Chicago. He lines up on the left wing of John Tavares, the club's captain, and Willie Nylander on the right wing. The kid line, as I'm going to call it, 2/3 of it anyway, is the third line that has Fraser Minton in the middle of the ice. He's formed a really good relationship with last year's phenom, Matthew Knies, who toiled in the college ranks and made it to Frozen Four and had a cup of coffee with the Leafs in the playoffs and showed well in the exhibitions as well this season. They're going to be partnered with Calle Jarnkrok, a veteran who completed his first 20-goal season last year in the league and can be looked upon as the defensive conscience of this line. He plays a strong two-way game. On the fourth line, they have a choice between Noah Gregor, who they picked up and gave a tryout to in the exhibition games, or Dylan Gambrell, a low-cost pickup, a veteran who played in the Western Conference last year with some degree of success in the depth charts of San Jose. He'll be alongside David Kampf at center, who was a penalty killer that the Leafs are going to lean on, as well as the fourth line role. And the resident tough guy, maybe the heavyweight champion of the NHL, if you're talking about fisticuffs, is Ryan Reeves, patrolling the right wing. He's going to make the rest of this team play about 3 or 4 inches taller, about 20 pounds heavier. A lot more confidence I'm talking about on the ice, as long as he's on the bench. On the blue line, Morgan Riley returns to be the anchor of the defense corps, partnered with his longtime teammate TJ Brody and a pretty solid looking top pairing. I expect Riley to bounce back from an injury-plagued season and contribute at least 50 points from the blue line. And I think he's going to be a factor on the power play too. But they're also going to give John Klingberg a look at that possibility. He's going to open the season as the point man on the power play, apparently, because he's had some degree of success elsewhere in his career, particularly in Dallas, and somewhat less in Anaheim. But one of the reasons he came over is because he wanted to play with the top-level talent on this club up front. And he'll be partnered with Jake McCabe, who will be his defensive conscience. McCabe brings a lot of toughness to the back end, too. Then the oldest player in the NHL, Mark Giordano, is going to be patrolling the third pairing with a guy who he has mentored along the way, and that's Timothy Liljegren, who was a top draft pick of the Leafs a couple of years ago and should be ready to come into his own. I predict a breakout season for Liljegren this season. In terms of the net minding, I already touched on it. Ilya Samsonov will be taxed to play about 50-plus games and to be the top cat in the net minding tandem. Joseph Woll will be asked to pick up the other 25 to 27 starts. And should either of these guys falter or get hurt, as I said, they have the luxury of Martin Jones in reserve. He played about 45 games in the NHL last year and has been around the league for 12 seasons as a guy who's been a starting goalie elsewhere. So a good-looking trio when you consider all those factors. That's the kind of news and notes that you're going to hear from me on my Rotowire Hockey Podcast. I urge you to check it out weekly as outlined earlier. So I say let the games begin. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments section of this clip. Your ideas are welcomed. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons on this screen. They're all free, and I thank you for listening. I'll be back in a few days with a look at other top news stories in the sports world on the next episode of Sports Talk with the Stats Man.